back to my channel, or if you're new here and you don't know me, I'm Caroline. I am a second year physical therapy student. I have all of my goodies here because today we're going to be talking study tips and tricks, my favorite ways to study, and how I aced anatomy. Before we get into it, I want to show you my little study buddy. She is sound asleep. It's a hard life being a dachshund. When I started PT school, it took me a couple weeks to figure out what kind of studying worked best for me. And anatomy itself is like super overwhelming because your professor's just gonna throw all of these muscles at you and be like, okay, memorize literally everything about them. And you're gonna be like, what the heck, how am I supposed to do that? And on top of that, you're gonna have other classes. So it really takes like finding a groove and getting into a good routine. And I get asked the question all the time, how I study. And it's so hard to explain because I just study. I just figured it out and I just study and this is what works for me. But the point of this video today is so that you can pick my brain and see how exactly I study and how that has worked for me. Gotten everything together, so we're just gonna get right into it. Here's how I studied and got an A in anatomy. Okay, things you're gonna need, or things you might wanna have. For starters, an iPad. Any kind of iPad will do, you don't need the newest kind. I started with a super old one and an Apple Pencil. And then I use Notability to organize all of my notes. The iPad is great for taking study guides, for writing on lectures, all that stuff. You can do Quizlet on it. iPads are great for studying. That is something that I would definitely recommend. Another is a whiteboard. Okay, yep, there it is right there. If you know me, I love a whiteboard. Small, medium, large, literally any size whiteboard. I like the big one because I like to do like whiteboard dumps. Again, this is personal preference. All this is personal preference. This is how I studied. Lots of paper. If you have access to a printer, that's great. Use your school's printer if not, but paper, I preferred cardstock. Sometimes I liked the fun colors. Because if you're like me, you're a visual learner and you're gonna wanna draw out anatomy. And then the last two things, Netter's Atlas of Human Anatomy, regional approach. I lived by this thing when I studied anatomy. I think all health professions should get a book like this. It's literally amazing. Like, let me just show you one of the pages. What do I want to show you guys? It has organs, muscles, brain. All right, so here's an example. Like, oh, like look how beautifully detailed that is. It is literally the best way to study anatomy, especially anatomy lab. And then the last thing, anatomy coloring book. Definitely not something you need to have. If you're ever tired of like looking at your notes and you just want to color in some muscles, would highly recommend, honestly. And they have like information on the sides of it too. So it's not just a straight up coloring book. You have to match the muscle with the name and color them in and whatnot. I didn't finish using this, but it was a nice break from studying when I needed one. Okay, so in my anatomy class, we would have a quiz every week and an exam probably every 4 weeks after we finished certain units. So this is what I would do. I would take all of my notes in the lecture. I didn't read the PowerPoint beforehand. I didn't reread and rewrite it afterwards, but I would take all of the notes during lecture. After lecture, any muscles, I created my own template. And I would go into Notability, I would find a picture of the muscle and I'd add in the origin, insertion, action, innervation of the muscle. And I would do that whenever we were given new muscles in lecture. And then I'm a sucker for the tape feature on Notability. You tape it over, boom, quiz yourself. Quiz yourself. Easiest way to do active recall, like in a pinch. If I had a quiz coming up and there were structures that I needed to memorize, I would draw them out. What I also would like to do, especially with the origin, insertion, and muscles, if I got the muscle wrong while I was doing active recall, I would rewrite it out from memory as best as I could. So again, I don't think you should rewrite everything, but if you continuously get something wrong, rewrite it and then go back and quiz yourself again after doing like a couple other muscles, if that makes sense. Once I was feeling kind of confident in the muscles, I would go to the whiteboard, my big whiteboard, the one in the library, and I would write everything from memory for the origin, insertion, action, and innervation as best as I could. Then I would go back, look at my notes, check it over, and put like stars by the muscles that I messed up, and I would just do those muscles. Obviously, this is a time-consuming thing, but I think it really helps me. And then when you have all the muscles on the whiteboard, you can look at them all at once. You can pull up your notes, you can pull up your atlas, and you can look at where they're attaching and be like, okay, I know that this muscle and this muscle are going to share a common attachment point. Okay, like look, these two attach in these places, or these two have the same action. Let me take a note of that. And it really just helps you visualize how everything is working together. I was still struggling like I did during the back unit. I printed out a skeleton and I drew on the muscles so that I could place them myself, see where they attach. This unit was humbling, but I did the best on this exam. Again, studying anatomy, it's all gonna depend on how you memorize information, how your brain takes it all in, because it's a lot, it's a lot. And don't expect to understand it perfectly the first try. So anyways, once I would like kind of get more familiarized with muscles, something else that I'd like to do was make cheat sheets. So again, this is just rewriting the origins and insertions, but I would bring stuff like this into lab with me so I could study the muscles better that way. Again, I wouldn't recommend doing that if you're like crunched for time or anything. I literally have so many papers. Oh, here's a good example. Okay, so guys, I'm actually all over the place right now. Hold on. Okay, something else that I like to do is, like I was saying, common attachments, write them out. I did this a lot more on the whiteboard, so I don't have a ton of paper examples, but I would write out all the common attachments like next to all the origin, insertion, action, next to the group of muscles so that I could remember it better. Again, a lot of drawing. This was for nerve distributions, sensory nerve. Goodness. Again, the forearm muscles really did me dirty, so I redrew those a bunch of times. As you can tell, I just love the visual learning aspect, and I think redrawing and then practicing on the whiteboard, dumping all the information that I could remember, helped me a bunch. I really hope this is helping you guys because I feel like I'm all over the place, but it's okay. We're gonna keep going. Another thing that I did diagrams. So I made this myself. I actually have a template on Etsy for it. She's kind of falling apart. My template looks a lot better. This was the OG hand model. The hand muscles were so confusing for me. So I decided that I would just make my own hand model so that I could place all the muscles and see where they go. Because they're all so small and I couldn't figure it out. Same with the forearm. I was getting so frustrated with the forearm, so I did the same exact thing so I could see how the muscles lay. Okay, so for bony attachments, and this again all goes back to attachments of muscles as well, what I liked to do was print out blank pictures of the bones and label them myself. And then I would check with my notes and see if I missed anything. You could also do this like on your iPad, just find a blank picture and upload it. But again, did this a lot, especially for the upper extremity. Again, I think I could give you guys like 100 different ways to study anatomy. So I also would find blank pictures online. You can find pictures like this that have the muscles listed. And what you do is you go in with your Apple Pencil and you white out all the muscles. And then you have a very fun game of labeling where the muscle attaches on the bony landmark. So that was another thing that I would do. Same with nerve distributions, find pictures of the nerve distributions, white it out, and then label it yourself. For the later regions in anatomy, I did like to draw some stuff out. So like here's the popliteal fossa. And then again, I could just tape this over and quiz myself. But here's like a whiteboard that I did, and I literally just put the whiteboard into my notes app and I could like quiz myself on it. So that was cool. Again, another example of the tape feature. Now for nerve paths, which are a total different beast. In anatomy, I feel like the origin and insertion is the big stuff. This was all like flowcharts, like mapping everything out. So here's an example for the radial nerve, for the axillary nerve. I actually had a bunch of nerves like this, but I brought them in the lab. And they got really gross. They got like stuff on them, so I had to throw them away. They were like really wet. It was really gross. Anyways, same thing. Brachial plexus, another example. Just draw it out, map it out. It was a lot of rinse and repeat. Like just make sure I could draw how everything's going in the map, knowing all the possible entrapment sites, stuff like that. A little more boring, but that is exactly how I did. I was not a Quizlet person. I did not want to do a Quizlet on what is the first entrapment site? What is it? No. I had to draw it all out and see how it was going in my brain. So again, I know this is a lot of information and maybe this helped you, maybe it didn't, but if I could give you steps for studying anatomy and studying it well, I would first start off by going through your lecture, taking any muscles that your professor may have given you that day and finding the origin, insertion, action, and innervation of that. Make a template like I did and have it all in one organized place so you can refer back to it and you don't have to go through the lecture. That'd be the first thing that I would do. Make sure you also have pictures to go with each muscle. It might take a little bit of time, but it's gonna help you understand it better. Once you have that, tape things over, quiz yourself, do some active recall, get familiar with the muscles and where they are on the body, and then go to your whiteboard and try to write everything from memory as best as you can. And if you're struggling with a certain couple of muscles, go back to your iPad, maybe rewrite them a couple times, or try to draw them on bones. Try to really visualize where they are and what they are doing. Refer to your atlas if you have one. Refer to an online atlas if you can find one while you study to help you better, again, visualize things. If you're really struggling, draw it out and picture how it's working with all the other muscles in the area. Once you have a better understanding of all the muscles, you should go through and you should find common innervations, common attachments, and common actions. Group those muscles together and try to memorize those muscles. You want to know the muscles that compose the hip flexors, not just that each individual muscle is a hip flexor, because in the clinic, when you test the hip flexors as a group, you're gonna wanna know what muscles flex the hip, if that makes sense. So again, grouping everything together is really going to help make it seamless. And then finally with like bony landmarks and whatnot, white the labels out and make your own like fill in the blank on your iPad. Print out blank bones, practice on them as well. And then for nerve paths, just really try and make flowcharts, diagrams of everything. This all may seem tedious, drawing things out may seem tedious, but it makes it more fun when you're studying all the time. And you're going to perform better on exams and you're going to learn better and be able to apply the anatomy that you are memorizing better. So that's basically everything that I wanted to cover with studying anatomy. I didn't want to make this video too long because if I was in PT school, I wouldn't want to watch a 45-minute video on how to study anatomy. So I hope this helps you all. And if you did well on your exams, please let me know. Just here to help you guys. See you next time.